Tuesday. You sound better today.
I do sound a little bit better. I think after Wednesday, probably Thursday, I'm gonna be at like a full rock hard, feeling better.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that you survived, man.
I feel the love, brother.
I thought I might finally be getting rid of you.
Trust me, I think my wife probably was looking forward to that too, but
I'm sure you got that good life insurance policy.
I know that's why she's bummed. I'm probably worth more to her dead than I am alive.
Well, clearly, that's 100%, bro.
I know, but hey, you know what? It's her fault for taking care of me so well and making me get better. So now she's fucked out of that money for another time I'm sick.
Oh, you'll be all right. Once that new COVID comes around, it's going to creep up in you. Yep. Well, alrighty, man. So, yeah, man, tonight, Delaware again. The capital of Delaware is Dover. I knew that.
You did a good job.
Yep.
I'll give you a round of applause for that, Dan.
Okay. Well, alrighty, man. Well, we got a good guest on tonight. Another guest from Delaware. Been a while since we had back-to-back guests from the same state. We've been kind of whoring it up and bouncing all over.
Right.
But let's bring in Josh.
We haven't started the show.
Oh shit. Well, hit the button, bro.
Fuck, man. It's like it's your first time. All right, I'll hit the button.
Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast with your host, Brett Bovin. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Now I feel a little better.
Heck yeah.
Okay, now we can bring him in. Let's set the round of applause.
All right. Yeah. Didn't hear that.
You had me worried there, Dan, for a second.
Hey, Josh, how you doing?
What's going on, fellas?
Oh, just holding it down here in Michigan on this 70-degree day that we had.
Oh, it was so nice.
Yeah, it definitely was warm today.
Oh, man. What was it there in Delaware?
I think it got up to 60. I think pretty close to 60. It was pretty warm.
What was the high for us, Dan? It was
like around 70, man. It was like 71, something like that. I was about to say,
I think I saw 71 at one point.
Yeah.
How cold does it get up there in Michigan?
Dude.
Depends on where you're at.
Michigan is consistently inconsistent with the weather. Really, you could get anything.
They're calling for fucking snow.
Yeah, especially this time of year. Like, you could have anything from sub-zero temperatures and a foot of snow to 70 degrees.
Sounds about right.
But right now, currently, we have no snow on the ground. It's just been kind of windy the last few days. Every year is different. But traditionally, we are supposed to have harsh winters up here. Like when we were kids, well, when Bovin was younger, our winters were much more consistent. Like, I remember we always had snow during the winter, where these last few years, a week after we get the snow, it's gone. And then once we get another snowstorm, it'll stick for another couple of days, and then on to the next one.
Yeah, it's about the same here. I feel like we used to have a lot more snow, at least when I was younger. But I don't feel like we get the weather in January and December like we used to. February could be nasty, like where I think we're just about out of it, obviously now. But like I said, typically our mark is once Daytona kicks off, the weather breaks for us, and it's pretty consistent.
What about your winters?
It varies. I mean, we had a pretty good cold snap this year. And then right around like middle to end of January, we had a couple decent snowstorms, like maybe 6 inches, which obviously in a state like Delaware, like if it snows 2 inches, the whole state shuts down. So,
Oh,
you know, I mean, we've had some pretty substantial snows over the years. I mean, you know, I think back in like 2014 or right around then, I think we had like back to back like nor'easters. We had like 24 inches and then 12 inches, so like 36 inches of snow total, I think, was on the ground at one point. And the year may be wrong, but that's the last substantial one that I can remember. I feel like before that it was like every 3 years you had a pretty brutal winter.
Dang. Yeah, now it's at the point where I miss seeing snow on Christmas mornings. Now it's just mud. It's like, yay. And I say this every year. I wish there was at least snow on Christmas Day, snow on Christmas on New Year's Day, and that's it. And if it was going to snow, just snow on the road. I mean, everything but the roads. Don't mess with my roads. It's one thing. I can't freaking.
yeah.
I don't mind driving on the snow on the roads. It's dealing with other people that don't know how to fucking drive, and they say it every year on the news. This is how you drive. Make sure you leave half an hour early to compensate for driving conditions. Nope.
Yeah, especially that first downfall of the year.
Yep.
Stay off the roads because everybody has to get re-educated on how to drive, and there's just accidents everywhere.
Yeah, I got like an hour ride to work, so it's not uncommon. Like on those types of days, like I'll see anywhere from 7 to 10 vehicles off the side of the road, and there's nothing on the road. Like I'm not sure how they managed it, but somehow it still happens.
Some people just find a way to just not know how to drive. And it just flabbergasts me. I'm just like, really? You're in Michigan, and then when there's like nothing on the road, people are driving like 2 miles an hour, and it's like, really? First, people are flying down the road when there's stuff to be worried about. Then when there's nothing on there, they're like, I might drive like St. Mary and just drive down the road, make sure I don't crash.
Yeah, or it'll be like a light flurry and everybody's got their hazards on.
Yeah.
And like you think that there's about to be a huge accident, and you're like, well, what the hell's going on here? And then you find out that it's just a light flurry, a couple snowflakes.
I mean, it makes me feel a little bit better that at least like you guys are all the way, the farther west than us in Michigan. At least it's consistent. I mean, I guess that's the
positive, I guess.
Take what you can get.
Oh, dude, we get our hearts crushed all the time here in Michigan. Like right now is the prime time for that. Like we all start coming out of hibernation. We all start getting a little bit of sun, and we think that we can let our guard down. And then you wake up one morning and there'll be a foot of snow again.
Yeah, that can wear on you.
Mm-hmm.
When does your hunting season go out?
At the end of the year.
So December.
Yeah, 31st? Yep, December 31st or January 1st, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. See, for us, we can hunt all the way till end of January, like couple early days in February. So like January for us is, I mean, it can be really good. That's where it's like right around Christmas and New Year's. Like I'm praying for snow, like absolute as terrible weather as you can possibly get. Cause that's when it can be good, but we haven't had a whole lot of that in the last couple of years. Plus it's a flat state. It's not like we have to worry about a lot of topography with the snow. It's just literally driving on the snow.
Yeah. We found out about that last night about how flat your state was.
Yeah,
we both were kind of expecting, a little bit more of a terrain than that.
Yeah.
We literally have to dig ditches to get water away from places.
Okay.
That's how it works in Delaware.
And then I was looking it up because I heard talking to you before we started the show. I was like, Delaware is somewhere in that fucking region. And it's like, where exactly? Like, I know it's somewhere around New Jersey, maybe. And I looked it up and I found exactly where it was at. And I forgot how fucking small it was. I think my thumbnail is bigger than the state of Delaware. And then I looked even closer. There's only 3 counties in Delaware.
Yeah.
Which one do you hail from?
I live in Kent County. So I'm in the middle. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
We've got a Kent County here in Michigan as well.
Well, I feel like that's probably that the odds of that are low since we only have 3, you know. So the fact that we match one, that's not a, you know, I guess that's not terribly bad, but like I said, it's what's wild is like you go to you leave the state of Delaware, even the Delmarva Peninsula, and which is like Maryland, Virginia, and Delaware, and it's like I don't know, it's just different here on the Eastern Shore, as we call it. I mean, most mailers are like, oh my god, a guy from Delaware said Eastern Shore, but it's just a different world when you come across the bridge.
So, do you primarily hunt in Delaware, or do you travel and chase whitetails in other regions as well?
I mean, I'm all over, honestly.
Okay.
I hunt a bit in Delaware, quite a bit in Maryland. I've been out in Missouri, about, I don't know, I think I started out there maybe 10 years ago, with a buddy. I was managing a farm out there for him. He sold that and came back east to West Virginia. So I was there managing a farm there. And now I'm managing a farm in Ohio. So I'm kind of bouncing around between Maryland, Delaware, and Ohio for the most part. West Virginia, northern West Virginia a little bit. I got a couple buddies there. Just time is usually my biggest constraint getting.
And when you say manage a farm, what do you mean by that? Like, do you guide hunts?
Not guiding hunts, like I go in and do, set up all the food plots, layout, location, stand locations, just, kind of making the habitat and the property better to maximize production of deer and turkeys.
Okay. And then you're able to hunt those properties as well?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite of those 3 that are like work and play? What state is do you lean towards?
Man, I like them all, but if I had to pick, I'd probably say Maryland, more so because that's where my family is. Like that's like where I get to spend a lot of my family time. So
it's the central location for you.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like chasing as big a deer as I can, but I think the heritage and the camaraderie and the what comes with the whole hunting environment, at least with my family, is something that's really special to me. So, I mean, I think I would have to pick Maryland if I was going to have to pick one.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to Maryland week now.
Yeah.
Where are you guys looking at in Maryland? Or are you a guest from Maryland?
Yeah. We don't know that.
We haven't even started.
I don't think that we've even lined anybody up, but hey, maybe we can get you.
Sure, I'm down, man. Listen, ask anybody that knows me. I'm always down to talk about hunting. Doesn't matter when or where.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Dan.
No, go ahead, man.
No, you go ahead. You started first.
I was just saying, if you've been hunting Maryland for a while, you'd be a great person, for us to talk to, just because we like getting, insight, and, we like kind of getting a little bit of an idea of what each state is like. And one thing that we found from some of our guests is a lot of them don't really hunt that much in their home state. A lot of the guys that travel and they hunt other states primarily. So yeah, we'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. So and like for the state of Maryland, you've got the Eastern Shore, which obviously on the Delmarva Peninsula, and it's a little bit different than like when you get into like Western Maryland, because you're getting into more mountainous kind of hill country, or whatever. So like you do have a little bit different topography, different like I guess hunting approaches to an extent. Like here on the Delmarva Peninsula, like Delaware and Maryland are fairly similar. I mean, we're surrounded by water. We're a peninsula, right? So there's always a lot of like marshes and rivers and stuff like that. But I mean, it's a lot of big ag. But when you get into Western Maryland, it's a little bit more like, like I would say like West Virginia, northeastern West Virginia, southern PA. You know what I mean? So you have a little bit difference from Western Maryland to Eastern Maryland for sure. Okay. And I've never hunted Western Maryland, so I can't really speak on hunting out that way.
Well, I was reading though in Delaware, there's only like 45,000 whitetail deer in that state, roughly. It's very low numbers. At least that's what I was reading.
That's not true.
Well, it's the internet. Everything you read on the internet's true.
Yeah, I mean
you got a bad source, bro.
I mean, I don't know. And I don't know. I haven't even read the deer reports. I don't know if NDA's published theirs or even if Delaware Department of Natural Resources have submitted their report yet. But I can tell you there is a lot of deer. There's a lot of deer in Delaware for sure. For
Well,
sure.
I did read though. I think this came from. Hang on, let me click out of the other tab here. Let me find it. Hang
Damn
on,
it, Brett.
hang on. Give me 1 fucking second, okay? It's on the Boone and Crockett Club. That's where I got the number from. It said with roughly 45,000 whitetail deer, it's no surprise that Delaware has only a few record book entries. The largest buck scores 208 4/8. And it looks like a lot of them came from
Sussex.
So, yeah, Sussex.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I got the numbers from. So blame that website. I'm
just like I said. I mean, I don't really get into the deer studies that much or the deer reports. But I mean, in terms of like your deer per square mile, like I feel like we have a pretty solid population. As you get into the northern counties like Newcastle, it's a little bit more developed. So I feel like your deer density might drop a little bit in Newcastle, but Kent and Sussex are primarily agricultural and more rural. Aside from like some of your small towns, like we call them cities, but they're really not that big. But there's definitely a lot of deer. I mean, there's a lot of deer in Delaware.
Are you a private or public land type of guy?
Most of the time I hunt private. I tiptoe around public a little bit, but I'm usually so constrained on my time. Most of the time I stick to private just to try to maximize the little bit of time that I do get in the season.
And how long have you been hunting?
I think I've been bow hunting for 22 years now. I started when I was 14 or 15 years old.
Okay.
He's a bow hunter. I like it.
Primarily, every once in a while, I'm not afraid to pick up a firearm, especially if I've had a frustrating bow season. I got no problem reaching out there and touching them.
Yeah.
I'm
kind of the same way.
Damn it.
I lean really heavy on the bow, but if it's like if we have a really nasty storm come through and I need to bundle up and I'm second guessing my range of motion, grabbing the shotgun, like I won't hesitate to do it. But usually I'm trying to do it with my bow. Like I know I'll get more reward harvesting any deer with my bow. But
to me, I can remember every detail that I've shot with every deer that I've shot. I feel like you're not going to. The odds of that happening with a gun are just not as.
It's not as intimate.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like you're built up to it, right? So with a bow, like you've got a range you're dealing with. You know what I mean? Like a gun, deer's 100, 150 yards, even 200 yards now. Like, so can you guys use straight ball cartridges in Michigan?
No idea. I don't gun hunt, so I don't.
It's like 350 Legends or whatever your straight ball pistol calibers are.
350 Legends are allowed here in Michigan, in our area in the Southwest. Once you get like central and northern, you can start using like 5.56.
Okay.
But in our area, I think 350 Legend and like 450 Bushmaster is about as big as you can get down here.
Yeah, they just legalized that a couple years ago in Delaware. Up until that point, it was pretty much slug guns or buckshot.
What type of bow setup you got?
I shoot a Hoyt. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a bow brand fanatic. I shot a Martin Jaguar for probably 15 years. My dad bought it for $100 actually from one of my buddy's grandfathers, and I had a youth bow when he bought that bow, because he bought that to actually bow hunt with me. And then I outgrew my youth bow. And dad had to switch to a crossbow, just with his glasses and all that kind of stuff. So I ended up inheriting that one, and I shot it for, like I said, probably about 15 years. I mean, I think I bought my Hoyt 5 years ago, give or take. And I shoot, like, I literally shot probably 5 or 6 different bows, and I picked the one that I felt I was the most comfortable with. And moved on. Of course, the technological advancements in 15 years is pretty substantial. So it was pretty cool to like upgrade, I guess. But I'm just like a creature of habit. Once I find something that works, I typically don't change it.
Don't fix what's not broken, right?
That's right. That's right.
Well, you got like a giant smorgasbord of deer on your wall down there. I mean, dang. What's your secret down there in Delaware? Well, what are you doing when you're scouting? What are you looking for?
Well, if you ask any of my buddies, they say I have a horseshoe shoved up my rear end. If you really want me to be honest with you, I mean, so what's crazy is like because I've hunted a lot of different places, and like just talking to a lot of guys, I think there's a lot of people that look for like just what's the silver bullet, right? Like what's the secret? And I think the secret is there really isn't one. Right, like every one of the deer that I've killed behind me, or some of the ones that I got upstairs, like the scenario was different, the situation was different, the setup was different. You know, like, and it's kind of hard to explain, like when I'm walking through a woods or I'm scouting a piece of property, or you know, walking some of my friends' properties that they've asked me to look at. Like, there's just certain things that seem to like stick out to me, and there's a lot of things that you can't see. You know, you hear a lot of people talking about e-scouting and looking at maps and all that kind of stuff, and that helps you narrow down some areas. But really, like, you got to put boots on the ground and spend a lot of time in the woods. And I can tell you, like, shed hunting wasn't something that I really did a lot when I was younger, but I would say probably in the last 10 or 12 years, like I've really started shed hunting a lot. And I found that actively shed hunting is obviously just scouting, looking for antlers for me. And 9 times out of 10, like I do find a lot of antlers, but I end up just getting distracted by the sign that I'm seeing, or, you know, certain things that I pick up while I'm out there in the woods that really help me, like just make a notation of, hey, you know, there's a little bit of a faint trail, or there's a scrape here where why is it here? Right? Why would a deer be here? And I feel like just going through that for the last 10 or 12 years, you see some consistency in some things, and you kind of figure out, you know, the whys, right? Like, why is the deer going to be here? Was this a early season, you know, sign? Is this late season sign? Like, you know, you got to kind of start putting some of those timelines together depending on what you're seeing. And that helps. I mean, again, it's not saying that what you see is going to be consistent year to year, but it, again, you know, there's factors that I think that play into that. And again, like that's like the variables I feel like are a rabbit hole you can literally just dive into, and we could talk about it forever.
Right. Well, I'm trying to figure out how to. So you said you're a private land type of hunter. Then it's your specific. Well, doesn't matter.
Yeah, specifically. Listen, I mean, so I've shed hunted probably 4 different public places, and I can tell you one that I kind of did the whole e-scouting thing, walked down in there, and when I got to 3 of the locations that I dropped pins on my Onyx, I picked up 9 antlers within probably 250 yards of those pins. So like just looking at some of the public land, like, and again, I went there based on my experience on the private land. And honestly, I haven't had a opportunity with my work schedule to get back out there and actually get a chance to try to bow hunt it. But, you know, a lot of the patterns that I think you see on private land can follow on public land, but again, like there's a lot more variables I think when you get onto the public pieces. Like that's a totally different,
less control.
Yep.
So when you're going out and shed hunting, is that like in your mind when you're making a mental note of like where you want to make your set for the season? Are you like picking like where you want to hang your tree stand, or do you do that a little bit later in the season?
I mean, a lot of times, like I'm making my mental notes. And again, like when you're shed hunting, I feel like there's a lot of like, you're almost like late to the game, if you will. Like, I mean, some people are you know, they're excited about seeing rubs and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, oh man, I'm going to sit here, you know, next year, 'cause all these rubs are here. And it's like, well, why is the rub here? Like, can you tell when the rub was made? Was it an early, you know, feeding sign, you know, marking, or was they knocking off velvet? Was a little whip rub? Like what is it? So I know there's guys that I've shed hunted with that, you know, they'll go hunt sign like that. I don't typically like when I shed hunt go back and just hunt like specific things I find, but I try to find patterns or like kind of travel corridors or things that are going to tell me where the deer are coming from, where were they going, like a big thing in Delaware right now is obviously, and I don't know if your last guest talked about it, but you can't use trail cameras now on public land. I don't know if they went over that or not.
No.
Yeah, so I think they passed that this year, and I didn't dive into it because I don't really hunt public land that much here in Delaware, but I think there was a trail camera ban that kind of followed not too long after. I think Arizona, banned theirs. So I mean, and I think trail cameras are an important scouting tool, but I think that like I'll call us the older generation. I'm 37, but like we didn't have I grew up with technology, but I also remember what it was like before we didn't have trail cameras, right? So like some of that woodsmanship or that understanding of like how to scout. Like when I tell people, well, what was it, an early season bed or a late season bed? They're like, well, how do you tell the difference? So I was like, well, if you pick leaves up and there's hair under the leaves, then that means that the deer was bedding there before the leaves fell, which would tell me that's an early season bed, right? Or if you have a lot of hunks of hair on top of the leaves, and that means right now they're starting to shed some of their winter coats. If the weather's starting to change, that's going to tell me that's a late season bed, right? Like some of that woodsmanship has been lost a little bit, and people are freaking out about not being able to like see exactly what's on the trail camera. But there's a lot of old woodsman skills that I think have been lost with the advancement of technology.
So it could have been a blessing at the same time.
Correct. But I mean, again, it's there's just so many variables that come into it. And again, there's not one silver bullet. And I can tell you, like, there's one section of one of the farms that I hunt that it literally took me like probably a year to pick the tree that I wanted to actually hunt in, like this little probably quarter acre block. It was like more of a transition spot. But I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of weird when it comes to picking my spots. My buddies, if any of them are watching, are probably cracking up because they know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm just really particular, and I don't rush things. Like, I don't ever feel like I'm in a rush. I'm pretty patient. Sometimes probably too patient. That's probably cost me quite a few slammers over the years. But I don't.
Okay, so you consider yourself more of a conservative hunter?
At times, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not afraid to get too aggressive, but like, so the problem I think that you have in Delaware is, and even Maryland and even other places, probably, like, you have a lot of smaller private parcels that like you don't really have an opportunity to, like, quote unquote manage. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a lot of people use that term, but like, how do you manage a 7 to 10 acre block? How do you manage a 15 to 20 acre block? You know what I mean? Like, and your neighbors literally on every single side are hunting the exact same animals that you are, right? Like, how do you maximize your opportunity on those smaller spots? It's impossible. Like, you're literally relying on either the neighbor next door not to shoot the deer that you let walk, and anywhere you look on the internet, any of the guys you talk to, I let this really solid 3-year-old 8-pointer walk, and 20 minutes later I heard boom during shotgun season, and the neighbor killed it. Like, it's really hard hunting. It's really hard hunting here, just because you have so much hunting pressure and so many small parcels that everybody's trying to hunt and kind of have their piece of the pie and enjoy their experience.
So do you feel that the hunting pressure is heavier at home in Delaware compared to the other states that you hunt, like Ohio and Maryland?
Yes and no. I mean, I think the Ohio pressure is different. And I didn't really feel like there was that much pressure in West Virginia. But I also feel like topography plays a little bit more of a role in that. As you kind of head west, like, just an Appalachian range, like, unless you're going to ride a UTV, 100 yards from your stand, which some guys do. And if that's what you want to do, man, that's great. Like, I walk. If I'm hunting, I don't take an e-bike. I don't ride a UTV, a 4-wheeler. Like, I hike in and I hike out. But I feel like I don't know. I think a lot of people's styles vary a lot, and I just don't like. I think that has an impact across the board in terms of how you define pressure. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely think that in Michigan, I haven't hunted a lot out of state, but it definitely feels like there's a lot of pressure here. Seems like you're competing with a lot of people.
Now, can you guys bait?
No.
Yeah, see, we can bait.
Okay, you don't need to brag about it. See, we can bait here in Delaware.
Well, that probably helps, really, with all the pressure. in the smaller parcels, like that guy that has the small plot might be able to increase his chances a little bit of keeping
Yeah.
a deer.
I mean, and listen, on my smaller places, I will. And the problem is in a location or in states that you can bait. If you're not, you're almost putting yourself somewhat at a disadvantage unless you have, some type of other habitat feature to make deer, obviously want to be where you are. Like, so when I hunted in Missouri and you can't bait there, right? Like you're hunting, big oak or big timber blocks, mostly oak hardwoods, open pasture fields. So it's a little bit different, but I mean, it's just a different pressure, right? Like you got to figure it can help in terms of like volume of deer numbers, but if you're hunting quality deer, I can tell you most guys are not going to kill a 5-year-old buck, and it's really hard to get a deer to 4.5 or 5 years old here in the state. I mean, it's done, and we have more bigger deer, I think, than a lot of people or other states would give us credit for. But I mean, we're primarily ag. I mean, we have corn, beans, hay, cattle. I mean, it's a smorgasbord of quality, and we have really good habitat and diverse habitat. So it's different. I mean, it's just different. And some guys bait, some guys don't. Some properties hold deer, other properties don't. I mean, I don't think that it's anything that's that much different as you look across the whitetail range in the U.S. I mean, it's just some properties are better. Like there has to be properties where you guys are that literally like they just hold more deer or better deer than other places. And I feel like Delaware is pretty similar to that.
Now, what's with you having prior property? How much is that of your own land? Like 5 acres, 2 acres, 20 acres, 100 acres?
Most of the places I have access to are typically family pieces. So it may be 5 acres here, 9 acres there. It's there. Most of them are really small. And we're pretty meticulous on how we hunt them. Like we got them set up for, different types of different portions of the year, different phases of the season. There's years where I'm hunting September 1st or my dad's hunting September 1st. There's times where we won't step in the woods until October. There's times where we won't even hunt the rut just because it's just not the intel that we're seeing just isn't telling us that that's where we need to be. So we just leave it alone. There's years that I won't even get in the woods until January in some spots, just because it's just not, I just don't feel like the odds are there in my favor. So instead of just like throwing a dart at the wall and hoping I hit something, I'll just stay out and stay patient, because I feel like you do a lot more damage just rushing in and hoping than you do actually kind of evaluating. And people can say, oh, the rut's the rut, you just got to put your time in. But there's plenty of times where how many times do you guys know guys take a 14-day vacation and literally don't see anything or get a shot at anything?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when whether it's public land or whatever, obviously the more sits you go into, the more intrusion that you make. Those deer know you're there. I don't care what scent system you use. I don't care what boots you wear. Deer know that you're there. Big deer know that you're there.
So are you like a target guy where you pick a deer and that's the only deer that you're going to get for the season? Or are you more of just kind of like a creature of opportunity where you just like to go out and, try to find something quality?
I mean, I feel like I'm not one to ever just say this is the only deer that I'm going to hunt, just because I think realistically, at least for myself and the places that I hunt, I think historically the last probably 5 or 6 years, for probably 30 sits average a year, I'll say I'm going to get a shot opportunity at 2 opportunities probably at quality deer. And for here, it's probably going to be about 125 inches or bigger. That's usually my standard.
Okay.
But it's tough. So you figure 30 sits and 30 selective sits. I'm not, I just don't go out and go, well, I just want to go hunting today. I'm just going to go sit here and see what happens. Like most of the time, my stand selections or my property selections are based on, weather conditions, time of year, whatever. So, but I don't ever like limit myself to one specific deer. That's not who I am. Of course, there's always deer that I would certainly love to kill. I mean, just because I'm usually always trying to find the biggest and oldest deer that I can hunt, but I'm not like, oh, well, 130 inch deer walks by me on a 5 acre piece. I'm not going to shoot it because, a deer that I've not seen that's 150 inches that I haven't seen in 3 months, maybe he's going to walk by. Like that rationale just doesn't,
Yeah.
it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, same here.
You know, and there's a lot of people that shit on 125 inch deer, but you know, there's a reason why Pope and Young's 125 inches.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, I would be creaming in my panties for a 125 incher. So I haven't got one yet. So I'll be proud as hell when I do.
That's a good deer. I mean, that's a good deer. I mean, I think
sure.
people get so lost watching these guys, you know, smacking slammers in Illinois and Iowa and Ohio. And I mean, listen, we've had, you know, you may not get giants every year around here, but you know, if you can kill on average 125 to 135 inch deer, really anywhere, there's nothing wrong with it at all.
I just looked at the my text messages here. Someone messaged me about the buck that you shot in Missouri. Now, like I said before in episodes, I'm not the most technological sound person, so I wish I could figure out a way to like show this on the big screen. But we're just gonna do this with the camera. I mean, let's just point this fucking monster out right there.
Damn.
Look at that thing. That is. Did you score him?
I honestly didn't really.
No.
You can't tell it in that picture, but he actually broke off his part of his main beam in a G4 on the one side. I think he's probably right around 140 ish, something like that. His beams were a little bit short. Like he's got mass, his brow tines are ridiculous, good stickers. And I probably shouldn't admit it, but I almost didn't shoot that deer.
Oh my
You
god!
almost cast him?
Stickers were cool.
Yeah, he was. He's a stud. He was a stud. Like honestly, I think that's probably my buck of a lifetime. To be honest.
How old did you get kind of guesstimate him at, and how much did he dress out at?
So he was actually a little bit smaller body wise. I figured he's probably about 4.5, is what the taxidermist told me out there. And I think, and that honestly, that was the first, that's honestly the first time that I ever set foot on that farm. That was the very first year that I ever went out there and hunted.
First sit?
It wasn't my first sit. So that was when I killed that one. That was my fourth day there, maybe third. I think it's the fourth. I'm pretty sure it's the fourth. Pretty sure it's set. But it was, man, the Midwest will spoil you. And if you've never hunted in the Midwest in that region, I recommend it. It is like if you're a true whitetail nut, the lore of the Midwest is a real thing, and I highly recommend.
What time of year did you shoot that deer?
So I killed that deer. I think the rifle season opened up like on the 8th or the 9th of November that year. And it was about a 17.5-hour drive. So we actually drove through the night. We left here in Delaware at like 8:30. Got there, got our licenses and got out there to the farm. But I think I killed him. I think it was November 11th or 12th, I think. Because like I said, it was 4 days into the gun season out there. Actually, that's the first deer I ever killed with a rifle.
Was that public land?
No, that was private.
Private. So you had some friends out there?
Yeah. So actually, that's the farm that I was out there managing for a couple years before it got sold, and my buddy came back east to West Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was kind of like we met like literally. It's like literally the most random story ever. So I was on a fishing trip, and somebody who knew me from another company was like, "Oh man, you two guys should talk, man. Tuck's a big deer hunter." Guy's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "You know what kind of deer you like to hunt?" So I just showed him some trail camera pictures and stuff like that, and got talking and obviously drinking beers and having a good time fishing. And he was like, "Man," he's like, "What do you think you could do on 400 acres in Missouri?" I was like,
"Kill some big deer."
I'm pretty sure I can do some damage. Do some damage. And he was like, "Well, man, you want to go hunt in Missouri in November?" And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, I mean, I literally had just met this guy like 4 hours before he asked me that. So, so I gave him my number. I was like, yeah, man, let me know, whatever. Just shoot me a text. So literally, like, I think it was like October something. he texts me out of the blue and he's like, hey man, looking to leave for Missouri, X date. He's like, you in or out? And I'm like, well, like what outfit are you going with? Like, what's the cost? And he's like, nah, man. He's like, look, he's like, I own the farm. He's like, I'm inviting you out as my guest. I was like, what? Like, really? Like, sure, why not? So I literally went and obviously I got to know him over the next couple months, and spending 10 days in a deer camp. You're gonna get to learn. You're gonna learn a lot about the guys in camp really, really quickly, and we struck up a friendship. And literally, so like for the next 3 years, I was driving out 2-3 times a year to plant food plots and pull soil samples and set new stands and really kind of tee the property up. And what's crazy is that when I killed that deer, because I still had, I think there was like 6 days left in the hunt, I literally saw 3 more deer that were just as big, if not bigger than that one. And two of them were locked up fighting the last day that I left, that we were leaving to come home.
Wow.
It was wild. It was wild.
I probably would have cried a little bit.
Yeah. And I could have killed every one of them if I had to. It's and obviously Missouri's a $1 state, so it's one and done.
Well, you picked a good one.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, so you would think shooting a rifle, in the Midwest, you're gonna shoot a vast distance. That deer was a whopping 8 yards.
It was only 8 yards.
Killed him at like 3:35 in the afternoon.
Damn.
I hadn't been in the tree for, I bet you I went in the tree for 25 minutes. Guaranteed.
And he comes right into bow range.
Yeah. I mean, and that was the craziest part. So like the first day.
He wanted to die.
You guys want to hear the story of the deer? Or
yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, I don't want to dive down a rabbit hole. You guys don't want to hear. But,
no, of course.
No, dude. We never have a quota really. Like we just want to talk. So
yeah.
Please share your deer with us.
Missouri's a lot different. So like we were hunting in southern Missouri. So there's no corn, there's no beans. It's all, a lot of, cattle farms, hay fields, rolling hills, big timber. So like that's the first time that I'd ever hunted not at home, like in Delaware or Maryland. So like that was a bit of a shock, I guess. And like really, if you're not sitting on the edge of a field or you're not sitting, kind of in the timber just off an ag field, for me, like I'd never experienced that. So a couple of guys had their spots that they wanted to go pick, and I just kind of picked a spot that nobody else wanted to go to. Of course, it was the farthest from the shop. I think it was like, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile, I think, from the shop. So the first 2 days I hunted like the far east side of the property. Rattled up a couple small bucks, nothing really big. The third day I moved a little bit farther west, like in off the property line a little bit more, to where I could kind of see like this, like I guess I'd call it like a drainage. It was a couple blocks of timber that all kind of came into kind of like a point, but there were fields kind of in between them. But I noticed that day, every deer, and actually I think they were all bucks. I think I saw 5 deer that day, and every single one of them went into this one little patch of timber. So the morning of the 4th day, we get back to the shop, and I asked the property owner, I was like, is there like a stand down in here? And you could tell like there was a little bit of a ravine, there was some topography changing there, whatever. And he's like, yeah, he's like, there's a stand right up in the middle of that block. He's like, but he said it's really hard to hunt because it's tight. He said that there's, I think it was like 2 dozer blade paths, or 2 dozer blade widths that ran north south in this patch of timber, and there was a stand right smack dab in the middle of it. And I'm like, okay. I was like, well, does anybody want to go hunt there? But I was like, nah, we're good. It's like, okay, well, that's where I'm going. So literally I hike up in there. It's like 3 o'clock. I mean, it was hot. Like it was ridiculously hot. Like I don't even think we had any heavy camo on at that point. And got in the stand, got everything kind of situated, hit a grunt call. And I mean, literally within like 5 minutes of me just letting out a couple grunts just to see, just blind calling, which some people frown on me. I do it all the time. Never had an issue with it. Usually get some type of response, and I can just hear this deer coming. And there were some really thick cedars. Like the woods was so thick there, you could not see 10 yards inside the woods line. Like if it did not step out on the edge,
okay,
you could not see it. So I think the deer was maybe 25 yards from me, and all I could see was his legs. Like I couldn't see a body, I couldn't see horns, couldn't see anything. And he's just, I mean, he's coming literally like right to me on the side of this hill. And when he popped out, I was like, oh shit. that's not a bad deer. And but he was kind of facing me. I was still kind of behind some brush. Like I could only see like a portion of his rack, so I wasn't, I wasn't quite sure exactly how big he was. So he took like 2 or 3 steps for me and actually got in a little bit of an opening that I could actually see his full frame. And all I could see was just like stickers and big brow tines. I mean, I was like, holy shit, like that's a pretty decent deer. But his body was so small compared to like what I would expect at home that I was like, maybe this deer's a little bit younger than what I think it is. And, I probably debated on it. I felt like it was forever, but it was probably like 5 seconds. And then at that point I was like, no. And luckily I already had the gun up when I heard him coming. Or I never would have got a shot at him. I mean, if I wasn't ready when he popped out, I probably wouldn't have killed him. So, but literally 8 yards, almost right straight underneath the tree. I mean, and he piled right up. I mean, he didn't go anywhere. He just crumpled right in a pile right there. And I'm like, holy shit.
Even better.
It's crazy. Yeah, my and actually one of my good buddies, Jimmy, he was he was one of the guys I met out there, and he was hunting in a stand probably like 300 yards from me. And there was hardly any service, so I got his text. He was like, "Hey Bubba, is that you?" And I literally couldn't text anybody. Like I couldn't get a hold of anybody, and I didn't want to get up and like walk to where I had service because there were other guys, kind of hunting in the kind of same side of the farm I was, and I didn't want to screw their hunt up. So literally, I had to wait till dark for everybody to get done hunting, and then at that point I was able to walk to get service and be like, "Hey, bring the Ranger up here." Like I killed a pretty good one. And it was, and of course, the celebrations were insane after that. But needless to say, I had a great time in Missouri.
That's awesome.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's top. It's top.
And yeah, but you still have a good rapport with that buddy of yours. He just got rid of that farm.
Yeah. So
Okay.
he, I mean, and listen, when you're riding 17 hours, I mean, that's a big commitment. It's really hard to get things done. It's really hard to make a ride out there. So he ended up getting rid of that piece, and bought another piece in southern West Virginia. And we started on that property, I think 7 years ago, I think, give or take. And listen, I think West Virginia is an underrated state as well. I mean, we started with not a whole lot of anything, and then once we got the property established, got our food plots in, and kind of really started able to kind of improving stuff year after year. I mean, we really had some quality animals. I passed a couple deer there with my bow that my buddies were pretty pissed at me for, but it's when you make agreement with a landowner and you're doing your work, you maintain your quality and your your minimums. I mean, I probably passed 135 inch, 9-pointer, 10-pointer. I mean, he was a stud. I mean, he was 12 yards. And actually I passed him 3 times in 3 days. He walked right under every tree that I was in for that 3-day cycle. He was underneath.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
he should be looking good this year.
yeah. Actually, I think they've had, and so I've actually, got my own farm in Ohio, so I'm no longer really doing too much for other people now on the management side. I'll do a little bit of consulting here and there, but a lot of my time and effort spent working on my place in Ohio.
Okay, cool.
How long have you had that place in Ohio for?
Yeah.
So this was like the second season. We settled on it in April of 2022. I think got it in April. So last year or 2 seasons ago was the first like hunting season there. And that was a mad scramble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What part of the state are you in Ohio?
Southern Ohio.
Okay.
Seems like everyone's getting a place in Southern Ohio.
I did a couple of sits down there. My buddy has a lease down in South Central Ohio.
Okay. Is he more in the ag? Is he more in the ag belt or more in the in the foothills region?
In the hills, yeah. It was really hilly. It was like nothing but hollers. It was like 3 big hollers on his property. But man, it was way different than Michigan, I tell you that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm jealous, man. That sounds like a sweet spot. Like, I'm sure you're loving every minute of that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I like just driving down the road. There's just deer everywhere. I mean, the first year that we were there, think we're there bow hunting right at the end of October. We went to go ride down, go take a run to town real quick, and at after dark, and we're riding down. There's like 160-inch deer just standing on the side of the road. It's like it's insane. Like I've never seen deer of that quality, at least around here. I mean, we have quality deer here. Don't get me wrong, but as you get farther west, I mean, it's a different ball game. Totally different.
Why did you pick property in Ohio compared to any other state?
I mean, so where we are here on the Delmarva Peninsula, so we're like in a huge development kind of phase right now. So where I live in Dover, we're about an hour from the beaches, which are a huge kind of tourist attraction. So the beach area down in Sussex, like the eastern side, it's just a lot of development. Property values are going up. So it really for me, it came down to one, affordability. So, I mean, if you're going to try to buy, even a middle size tract, 20 to 50 acres here, you're going to be paying out the wazoo. So it just really wasn't financially, feasible, to look here. And plus, hunting West Virginia for a couple of years, like I really liked West Virginia. But when I started looking for properties, I was very specific kind of on what I wanted and what I was looking for in terms of layout, kind of access and all that kind of stuff. And really, this property in Ohio just literally, I don't want to say fell in my lap, but it did. And the price was right. It had been on the market for a while, very remote. Like once I go in and close my gate, I don't see people until I come back out. Like that's it. I don't see anybody. Which that was a key thing, key thing for me. So, I mean, if I found something like that in West Virginia, Kentucky, I wouldn't have been against it. It just had to kind of have the right fit, for what I was looking for and what I was willing to, to want to invest in.
Yeah.
I mean,
how did you go about finding these, this property, or how do you go find any property?
So I mean, obviously, you just Google properties for sale. I think there's a couple of different land websites that are like, I don't want to say they're like a hosting site, but like they have no matter where the property is listed. I think it's Land Search or something maybe. And then always looking at like Whitetail properties, Mossy Oak properties. I mean, there's a ton of land realty brokerages, I feel like, nowadays. But I ended up finding this particular piece on a Whitetail property site, and contacted a land agent, Josh Grant, who now works for Arrowhead Land Brokerage, which if you're looking for land, call Josh. He's the best. I mean, he sold me my place. And literally I talk to him probably bi-weekly. I mean, and I'm not looking to buy, I'm not looking to sell. He's just a guy that literally I met through my land purchase. He's a top guy. And he's really good about like understanding what you're looking for. He's a deer hunter, right? He's from Ohio. So like he kind of had a really good, I don't want to say like interview, but like when we talk, like he really took the time to figure out what it was that I was looking for. So when I asked to go look at this piece, like he wasn't looking to just make a sale, you know what I mean? Like he was like, all right, like this place seems like something that you're looking for. Let's pursue it, or and I was open to recommendations if there was something else that he knew of or he had access to for me to go take a look at. But and I do think that kind of post COVID, I think you saw the land recreational pursuit of property, I think, is definitely escalated, I feel like. But like I said, I got really lucky. I got really lucky on my place, big time.
Now, is this just kind of like a land contract type of deal, or I'm just kind of curious because I've never done anything like that. So how does that generally type of work?
What do you mean, like land contract? What do you mean by that?
Are you leasing out that property, or
no, it's mine?
You bought it and then once, nice.
Yeah, so you own it. Yeah,
it's mine. Yeah.
That means it's his forever.
Yeah, or until I die, and then my wife can have it. And she'll do whatever she wants to do with it. No, so like for me, it's an investment, right? So there was no dwelling on it. I mean, the first year that we had it, we literally stayed in a tent in a freaking mud hole. It rained. I feel like Southern Ohio, it rains all the time, every time, no matter what the forecast says, it rains. My buddy Levi was down there with me quite a bit, with my dad. So it's a massive kind of family thing, especially for my dad. So, in my adulthood, my dad does everything with me. I take him hunting, fishing, anything I can do to drag him in the outdoors, I do. And he loves it just as much as I do. So this has been like a pretty fun adventure. He was with me in Missouri and West Virginia. And it's fun when you're, working in conjunction and doing it for other people. But when you're doing it for yourself, with your family, with your friends, and I don't know, it's just a totally different vibe. It's a different feeling.
Nothing beats it.
So starting in a tent to 2 years later, we got a little, 10 by 20, shed, which, man, let me tell you something, sleeping in the mud every night and, praying that it doesn't rain to be able to pack your stuff up and leave. It's upscale as far as I'm concerned, but, we don't have electric out there. We don't really have running water. So we got to, kind of rough it a little bit. We have obviously regular, amenities. We take a propane hot water heater so we can take showers. You take showers outside. There's no shower inside. It is what it is. If you get back from hunting and it's 20 degrees outside, you better buck up or you're going to stink, one or the other. But it's not bad, man. And again, like the big thing for me is just being able to disconnect. There's no cell phone service down in the bottom where the campsite's at. So, you kind of get a little bit of peace and quiet. And, again, the hustle and bustle of everyday life, I think, can be a lot. So just being able to just literally unplug. It's so weird when your phone doesn't work and you're like, you get like the phantom vibrate on your phone and literally you have no service and nobody can get a hold of you, but you still like check it because you're just so used to it. You don't have a problem there. You just leave it in the house and go do your thing now. But, it's badass, man. So having my dad there with me has been pretty cool.
And did you have any kids, Josh?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Well,
which also probably helped me getting a property, because I'm sure if I had kids, that probably would not have happened.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it'd been probably harder for sure.
Oh, for sure.
That's cool though, man. You know what you like, and you went after your goal, and you got a piece of property in prime whitetail territory.
Oh yeah.
So you're winning.
Yeah. Listen, I'm just like, there's not a day that goes by that I don't have cell phone cameras running. Like I run most of my cameras year round, whether they've shed horns or, scouting for turkeys or whatever. I mean, honestly, funny, today is literally the warmest day we've had, and literally a farm that we typically do really well turkey hunting here. Literally our phones were going off all day with turkeys out strutting in the food plots, and we've not seen turkeys in probably 2 months. But I don't know, it's just the lore of the outdoors, man. That's the disconnect, right? Like I feel like for most of us that are hunters and enjoy it, that's just where we're happy.
Oh yeah, same, man. I'm excited to do some fishing here pretty soon. That's one thing that I like to do to keep my mind off hunting a little bit when I can't hunt, but I enjoy fishing quite a bit as well. But
what kind of fishing do you do up there?
Primarily bass and pike. Every now and again, if you want to do a fish fry, I'll try to go out and get some crappie. But I usually like the fight, so I try to go for a big largemouth or a big northern.
Yeah, we're pretty spoiled here. We can do any type of fishing that we want. We've got the Chesapeake Bay, Delaware Bay. You can go offshore fishing for tuna, marlin. I mean, you can pick your poison here on the peninsula. I mean, there's nothing that you can't do. You can hunt, fish. I mean, the opportunities are endless for us here.
Are you more of a big water fisherman, or do you primarily fish inland?
I fish when I'm not preparing for hunting season, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Okay.
Like I like fishing. I mean, I like going rock fishing. I like going crabbing. I like going offshore fishing as well. But for me, it's like if I can be working in the woods, shed hunting, getting food plots ready for planting or something like that, like I will choose to do that 99% of the time.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I literally live to kill whitetails. That's what I like to do. I mean, I waterfowl hunt, I trap, I turkey hunt, but whitetails are predominantly what I focus on most of the year.
I think my favorite part about hunting season is the non-hunting season. It's the stuff leading up to it. I mean,
all the prep.
Because that's what makes the hunting season that much more fun, I guess. I mean, your hunting season is pretty much dedicated on what the fuck you do in the non-off season.
Yep.
So if you're just a lazy piece of shit and you're like, I'm not going to do anything. Wait till next hunting season starts. You're not gonna do so well.
Well, and the best part is, man, it's really like, oh man, you just have all these big properties and all these leases. It's like, dude, most of the stuff I have is really small, and the deer that come off of them and the deer that I hunt on them is literally because I spend so much time, working on the habitat, just trying to make it to the point the deer would want to be there. And then obviously situational circumstance comes in. You got to be in the right place at the right time and hope you make the right shot and connect and capitalize, which, I mean, that's half the battle, but
Right.
I feel like luck is a small portion of it.
Oh, it has to be. Yeah. I like to have some superstitions, and I like to think luck is part of it as well. So it's like, lucky right there.
I'll gladly take luck anytime I can get it.
I'd rather be lucky than good some days.
Yep.
So what are your superstitions?
Oh man, let's see here.
Because I am too. I'll be honest with you, but you tell me what your superstitions are first.
I said, I have to find a turkey feather on opening day. Usually I find it on my walkout as soon as I get dressed up and walk out to my stand. And if I don't find one, by the time I get to my stand, I'm thinking to myself, well, this season's going to suck already. And if I find one, it's like, all right, it's going to be a good season. And somehow the seasons always end up fucking backwards. So if I get those, like, yes, I want to find the feather. Yes, I found the feather. And then I end up having a shitty season. But I just feel like if I had to find that feather to feel like I'm going to have a good season.
Hey, your medicine is your medicine, man. Don't let anybody judge you for it. It ain't. No, I'm terribly superstitious. Like I have a specific hat that I wear. I have specific socks that I wear. Like, and there's times where like you can't use all your luck at the same time, right? Like you gotta pick your poison. Yeah, absolutely. My lucky socks and my lucky hat. That's real magic. And I got a shirt that if I really get needy, I'll go ahead and break that out for the big guns, if you will.
Okay.
Sometimes
if you're down on your luck and you need a little pick me up, you pull that one out.
It has worked a ridiculous number of times, as you can see.
Yeah. No kidding. Sometimes I get like paranoid, like I have to wear this shirt underneath that shirt. Sometimes I get that kind of like
OCD almost.
Just a little bit, yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah, but I think half of it is literally you've been grinding your ass off for 2 months, and if that's what you need to mentally like give you the positivity that you need to drag yourself out into the woods and
Yeah.
for another 4 hours that you're like, God, I just really hope this changes a little bit. Like you just got to do what you got to do, man.
Exactly. Sometimes then you gotta like, you know what, fuck it. I gotta change it up here. I'm gonna put this shoelace on that shoe and those shoelaces on that shoe and see if this works. If it doesn't, fuck it. Let's see what happens tomorrow.
Roll the dice, man. Roll the dice.
I'm still forming my superstitions.
You can't rush that though. You cannot rush that though.
Oh, I'm not. I haven't developed anything yet. Just because I'm so new to hunting. I've only hunted for 2 seasons, so I'm finding my way still. So I haven't really developed any. I had them for fishing, and for other things, sport. Pretty much anything sport related is like the only thing that I'm superstitious with. But in my general day-to-day life activities, I'm not superstitious.
You want to hear a weird sport one that I had though?
Sure.
It's probably Oregon related.
No, it was me. It was when I was playing high school football.
Okay.
My mom would always buy me the same Subway sandwich on Fridays after high school. I never ate the last bite of the sandwich. Never did.
I kind of have a bad habit of doing that too, where for whatever reason, I like to leave just a little bit of my sandwich, just like one little bite. Unless it's Jimmy John's. Jimmy John's, my favorite bite is the last one. I love the end of that French bread.
That is some
But
good Jimmy John's.
for whatever reason, yeah, man, I've had weird little OCD stuff like that. But I'll start finding my own as I get couple more seasons under my belt. I'm sure I'll start finding stuff. I do plan on, I don't really know if it's a superstition, but I think I found a brand of broadheads that I plan on sticking with for a while because I've had good luck with them. So
Magnus.
I haven't tried those, but I just don't. I don't have a desire to, man.
What are you shooting?
Tooth of the Arrow.
I don't think I've heard of them.
It's a fixed blade.
Okay.
Magnus.
It's the first ones I got, and I shot 2 deer last year with them and didn't have any issues, and then got new ones this year and shot a deer. So, I definitely like those. But I know Bovin's a big Magnus guy.
I do like Magnus, yes.
Are those fixed blade or expandables?
Fixed.
Fixed. Okay.
Yeah.
What about you? Are you a fixed or expandable guy?
So I shot Rage for a long time. And I don't know, it was maybe 3 seasons ago. I started having issues with the collars either coming loose. But my arrow trajectory just was not accurate as it had been. I don't know if it's just the new designs, new technology, whatever. So I ended up switching to fixed blades. I shoot iron will. I've had really good luck with those, and actually I just killed a doe in Ohio. Literally shot, like, she ducked the arrow and actually just shot through the knuckle on the near side. It blew through the knuckle, through the chest, and through the leg on the lower on the exit on the way out. I mean, I've never seen a broadhead go through that much bone and completely pass through it. So I was impressed with that. I've had a couple times where I've shot expandables and had the broadhead lodge in the shoulder and just not penetrate or bust off. So I'm definitely more fixed blade pro than I am mechanical pro at this point. Like I said, I've got a lot of deer with Rage. But I'm not one of those guys. It's like, oh my God, I got to shoot this. Listen, if you shoot it in the right place, it's really not going anywhere. I don't care what you shoot it with.
Right. Yeah. No, I strongly am just a fixed blades all the way around. They just, to me, they seem to pack more of a punch than what expandables do. And Magnus, but you can't really go wrong with any other brand, but Magnus, you need to go with. It's whatever you find that's the best for you, though, and that you're comfortable with, and obviously stick with it. But try Magnus, people. And that's my last one. I swear I'll stop. No, but I've tried growing up. I was trying expandables and fix and different brands and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, it was just like, what matters the most? Speed, accuracy, and pass through. And am I going to get all those mixed in with what I shoot with my arrow set, my bow setup, how my style of hunting is? And for me, Magnus broadheads, those broadheads fit my style of everything else. Now, everyone has their own different styles. Everyone has their own different hunting setups and their bow setups and whatnot. So, to me, it's just kind of, you can't just, oh, this is what my dad shot. Now I'll shoot that.
Tooth of the Arrow.
Shut the fuck up, shoot, man. And just try different things. But I strongly believe, though, I think, shut the fuck up, Magnus. I think, damn it, you lost my train.
Got him.
I'm getting tired, bro. I get goofy before bed.
All right, I'll make this last comment. Now I don't fucking remember what it was. Fixed broadheads are the best. There we go. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, Tooth of the Arrow. Sure thing.
Fuck off, dude.
Iron Will, yeah, hell of a brand.
Josh, you see what I have to deal with this shit?
Listen, if it makes you feel any better, I deal with the same stuff with my group of goons. Don't feel bad, man. I think that's just the way it is, man.
A little hazing never hurt anybody.
Listen, if you're not getting messed with, they don't like you. That's just how it goes.
Yep.
That is true. Dan, shut the fuck up, okay?
So do you guys hunt vertical bows or crossbows?
Vertical.
Don't get me started on that, Josh.
Bovin's an anti crossbow guy. I'm a pro compound bow guy, but I've got a bad shoulder, and I know eventually I'm gonna end up with one. So I'm not too critical. I'm not too critical on people who use it. It's not my place.
Yeah.
I do think that it's a better machine. Like, it works better. Your range doubles. I mean, it's a pretty badass machine. But I like what we talked about earlier with being intimate and, getting right on top of them. So I'm going to bow hunt as long as I can until my shoulder won't allow me to.
Yeah.
And I have a Hoyt as well. My first bow that I got was a Hoyt. I have an RX1 Ultra. I bought it used from my buddy's dad.
Okay. Listen, I don't know what it is about hand-me-down bows, but I feel like the ones that you buy used, I feel like they just shoot better.
Well, I'm left-handed, so being able to find a quality left-handed bow at a good price, like I had to, and knowing the individual and how they are, like they've been hunting their whole life, they take care of their shit. Like, it came with a bunch of accessories already on it, so I was pretty much ready to rock. Best damn decision, best money I've ever spent in my entire life. Yeah, I never thought that hunting would be able to top fishing, but as soon as I started hunting, I like what you said earlier, I pick hunting over fishing pretty much 90% of the time now.
I think it's just a process, right? Like, and I think that's the evolution, right? Like when you start hunting, it's about when you're younger, at least for me, it was like, man, I want to go kill deer, right? So then you start killing deer, and then it's like, well, now I'd like to try to maybe kill a nice buck or kill a buck, right? I think I hunted 2 or 3 years before I killed my first buck. Killed a couple does with a gun, bow hunted a bunch, didn't really have many opportunities. Actually, my first bow kill was actually my first buck, ironically. But I mean, and like you shoot a buck, and then you're like, man, I'd like to maybe try to shoot some bigger bucks, and then it evolves. And once you get to a point, I feel like as you get older too, like I feel like you appreciate the land more, you appreciate the process, right? So like sitting back in October and watching deer come out into a food plot that you put a lot of time and effort into planning, like it's a reward. It's not even that you have to kill deer. It's just the overall experience of being in the outdoors and the enjoyment of being in the outdoors. At least that's what it is for me. But I feel like I enjoy the build up to it in the off season, whether it's shed hunting, whether it's, working on the property, whatever, just as much as I do killing a slammer. It's all the same enjoyment, I guess, just like a little bit different experience.
Well, a little past our time, but tonight was a fun show.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Josh, was there anything that we didn't cover, a story you didn't share? Because if you forget about it when we officially end the show, I'm going to be sending you a text saying, let's figure out another day and time to come back on the show.
Yeah, so, man.
I think Maryland, I think we should lock him up for Maryland, bro.
Don't tell me what to do, Dan.
It's just a strong recommendation.
Thank you. No.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to come back anytime, man.
Yeah.
I can talk hunting all day, every day to anybody. Literally, I can talk to strangers about it. It's insane.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think Dan's right, man. We definitely have to lock you in for Maryland, and I can't remember. I think we're scheduling Maryland. I think it's sometime in May. I think I might be doing that April, May. Yeah.
Shouldn't interfere with hunting.
No. But
turkey season maybe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But we'll make sure to get that out there first. But
Yeah.
Josh, thanks again for taking the time out of your day to coming on the show and share your stories, share your experiences, and yeah, we look forward to having you come back on the show, man.
Absolutely. I'd love to be back anytime.
Yeah, man, it was nice meeting you, and thank you for sharing your stories with us. That Missouri buck was a freaking toad, man.
Yeah, it was, man.
Yeah. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, you have a good night, man.
All right, guys.
All right,
Yeah.
take care.
See ya.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting him back on the show again. But yeah, man, you're right. I think we definitely got to get him back on for Maryland.
Yeah, I have a feeling, I just have a hunch that Maryland's going to be one of those states that a lot of the dudes we talk to are like, yeah, Maryland's cool, but I primarily hunt over here, and
Yeah.
I primarily hunt over here. So
Right.
keeping that in mind, that he's somebody who hunts there and has a lot of experience hunting in Maryland, he'd be a good one to pick his brain.
Or we just bring him on there and we just talk about hunting stories out from there.
Yeah.
There we
Yeah.
go. He had a lot of hunting experiences. I still feel like he has still left to share that I think we could be on here for like 3 hours and just continue to talking.
That's why we'll have to do it another day. We'll have him on again.
Well, hey, today though, for people that are watching, today is February 27th. It's a Tuesday. Michigan had its primary today. And guess who won? Trump.
Nice.
Beat Nikki Haley. I haven't seen the official results of like by how much, whatever, but I did see the news article that Trump did win. And I think because he won South Carolina on Monday, the 26th, and now with him winning this one, then he's already won like Iowa, Rhode Island, a bunch of other ones as well. I think her path now is basically squash. She's got like no chance now to help win the Republican ticket. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's big news.
Mm-hmm.
Usually a good indicator that they're not really happy with the current admin in place, because
No.
Michigan primarily is Democratic. So,
Right.
but change ain't bad.
No.
Change is good.
Well, this was a fun show. We ready to kind of call a night? And well, you're actually not going to be here tomorrow. Today's your last show till Thursday.
Yep. I'll be taking tomorrow off because I got to pick up my family from the airport. And yeah, won't be able to swing it tomorrow. But yeah, I'll be on here Thursday.
Yeah. And as of right now, anyone that's watching, we do not have a guest for Thursday. So if you want to come on the show, send us a message. If not, my buddies are actually probably going out coyote hunting on Thursday. So we might kind of get like a little live updating little screen up there on them while they're hunting. So they've been hunting. The coyotes have been pretty much taking out a lot of the deer where I hunt, and it's pissing us the fuck off. And they wanted me to come out there, but I can't. And trying to figure out when I can come out there and hunt coyotes with them.
Oh yeah, you should do that as soon as possible. Got to protect your land.
Heck yeah, man. I'm tired of those little shits. They're getting out of control. But with that being said, Dan, have a good day off tomorrow. And we look forward to having you on Thursday. And
I appreciate it.
I think we can close out for the night, right?
Yeah, man.
All right. That was a good show, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.